Hello and welcome back to another morning sketch video. This is where we let go of trying to draw perfectly and instead we have some fun and explore what it feels like to build a better relationship with our art and our sketches. Today I will be exploring the figure, the human figure again, and in particular more action poses where we have a little bit of foreshortening involved. And I am drawing men today because it is harder to find good reference poses for them. So I did a little searching on Pinterest this morning and I found these, which I thought could bring something a little more challenging today. I know it sounds like a contradiction, but we can still have fun while giving ourselves a little bit of a challenge every now and then. In fact, I would say that it is healthy. It's a more stress-free approach to stretching yourself a little while also forgiving your missteps along the way and focusing more on the growth in a safe environment, one that you have created for yourself. So here we have the references on the screen and you can see they are very powerful poses. They have some foreshortening, overlapping of forms, and all of them are very athletic. Now I'm choosing the top right to start with, and I realize I might not get all of these done, so I want to choose the ones that I think I can learn from the most while actually enjoying the sketching process. So now we get onto the business end. Let's zoom in and position this so we can see better, and all that's left is to put pencil onto the paper. That's it. That's the biggest hurdle to get over. Once I've done that, I can keep going for however long I need to. Well, the biggest hurdle seems to be just picking the right pencil. I've got limited choices in front of me so that I don't spend all day trying to find the perfect pencil, because that can be a thing too. All right, so let's just get on with the sketching process because I feel like I have been stalling. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to see how this is going to fit on the page. I'm not very good at getting everything to sit well together when I do multiple poses, but I try not to care about that too much. My main goal at the moment is to reserve some space on the paper and just explore this form. It's a difficult perspective, and I like to use a lot of contour lines just to help out my spatial awareness and help me see and understand the perspective a little better. Sometimes it also helps me to just put bits and pieces of the body parts in. So like the knee, it feels like it was just sitting out there. So I just put that in so that gives me something to work from, and then I just work backwards from that. And that does seem to help with overlapping forms and more severe perspective angles. I also try not to worry too much about putting too much detail in the feet and the shoes. Normally they're just indications, and I just have a little bit of fun with, especially the laces. I like doing little crisscrossy, contoury type marks for the laces on shoes. But so far it's coming along okay. I'm quite happy with it. I'm relaxed, I'm observing, I'm in a calm state of mind, and that's really helping me to just play with this form. So while I'm sketching this out in the background, I just want to touch a little on the future of the morning sketches. If you watched the most recent weekly art roundup video, I did mention that I was thinking about putting the series on a break while I concentrate on other things. But I feel I need to have the space to draw things that aren't horse related, that aren't horses. And I don't want to let my figurative drawing get too rusty. I also think that they are a good reminder to calm down when sketching and drawing. It gets really overwhelming for me to start drawing sometimes, and I still have high expectations in my head before I've even put pencil to paper, just questioning my abilities, which does make me a little nervous to start sometimes. That's where the morning sketches help me the most. It's just to get over that initial fear and start drawing no matter the outcome. And I really need to keep that in my life. I want to share that with other people as well, people like you. So what I think I might do is move them into later in the week, like a Friday or a Saturday or even a Sunday, just after I've done most of my horse studies, so that I can go into the weekend more relaxed and just take the pressure off. I think it will fit in well there after having my critical eyes on earlier in the week. It might be a good cue just to relax and just remind myself that there are times that I can draw without having to just evaluate everything and just Scribble, have fun, let go, just let it be what it is. So along with doing them later in the week, I'm also going to make recording them a little bit more non-committal. So if I miss recording a morning sketch here and there, I'm going to be okay with it. It's more important to keep it as a leisure activity. And if the extra effort of recording is too much that week, if I've had a week where I've done a lot of work and I just want to relax and I don't want the extra effort of having to set up the recording and the lighting and making sure everything is going well, then, I can just sketch without the camera. One thing I have noted is the videos that I upload over the weekend or later in the week don't seem to do as well, but I understand people are out having fun and I should do more of that too. So I'm not going to worry about them not performing as well as some of the other ones. I'm just going to let it be and just not focus on that. So that's the news on the morning sketches. They nearly disappeared, but I had an epiphany and we're bringing them back before they've even disappeared. Now back to the sketch. I think it's nearly done. I'm not putting any detail in the head as it's hard to see from this angle, so it's more of a suggestion for this fellow. And I also realise I drew the arms off because something isn't quite right up there with the ball. I'm okay with that. It's a bit fun. It's a bit cheeky to leave it like that, We just put some nipples in and we're just about done. Putting the nipples in actually helps a bit with making the chest a little bit more solid and giving it a bit of direction in space. And yeah, just a few more marks and let's call it. It's time to move on to the next pose. So next I choose the two fighters. Their poses are so dynamic and just full of strength, and we can learn to play a bit with seeing how we can interpret that into the pencil. I tend to start with difficult poses. I tend to start with a few contour lines just to help indicate, like that first one, just orient it in space a little bit better. So that I can understand what's going on. And then it also gives me a little bit of a frame to work from, so I can hang the parts of the body off these initial contour marks and just, work my way through the pose and try to get everything to fit. Now these shorts on all these gentlemen really gave me a bit of trouble, so I try not to think about it too much. I just move on to trying to put the legs in. So once I get the legs in, I can move on to the other parts. I don't think there is much point in trying to get everything perfect at this stage. It's just little marks here and there just to make a little bit of an indication of saying, I'll come back to this and this is where this other line is going to join. And it might not be perfect at first, but we can get there. Now this leg is in movement as well, so I was looking at this and in the reference it is a little bit blurry, so I thought I was going to draw it, but then I thought, you know what, let's put a few marks in there to sort of convey that it is moving in space and it isn't actually a perfect outline of a shoe. It's blurred, it's got movement blur to it, so that's what I did. And then I moved on to the next leg, and these shorts again, oh my gosh. It's because they're so baggy in some areas and tight in other areas. It sounds weird. I mean, it sounds obvious. It is obvious, but it's really hard to draw. And that foot is just really, really tucked in up underneath that thigh. So I tried to make sure that was all really nice and tight, because sometimes when I draw, just things tend to move around a little bit and it's not accurate. And with this drawing, I really wasn't going for accuracy. It's a morning sketch, and I just wanted to have just that little bit of an extra challenge of, those perspective and foreshortening and just really action dynamic types of forms and lines, and that's what I got. And with that I let everything, my perfectionism, go. And as you can see with this hand, it's not perfect, but it does the job for now. It does the job, because I can come back later and I can make that better if I want that to be better. I could spend half an hour in that hand to make it more accurate, but that would defeat the point of the morning sketch, so I don't. I simply don't. It's not worth it. It's more detrimental to me in a morning sketch to try and put as much detail as I can in, and it doesn't give me what I need. So what I need is to be able to let these parts go, and I think I've been doing a pretty good job of doing that, and it's flowed into other parts of my drawing as well with the other things that I draw. I have an easier time of letting those mistakes go and just letting them be part of my growth story. So that's what I do. Now this head is another one that is going to just be more of an indication. There is absolutely no point in putting any detail like eyes, nose or whatever. I just put a few marks for it to indicate the back of his head, and that's enough. That is enough. So next it's time to work a little bit more on the chest form, that sort of like a barrel type shape, and just put, just put a little bit more in there. And also just put a little bit more, try a little bit harder on the shorts, you know. They're not going to be perfect, but I need them to be there to help with the other forms. And I'm doing this with an attitude of, just letting it be. I'm just going to let it be. I know it's really important to keep reminding myself of that, because otherwise I get too uptight, too in control. And as you can see, I've also been practicing with holding my pencil in a better grip, just to stop getting cramps in my hand. And it does help. It does help. And slowly but surely, and it is taking a long time, but slowly and surely, I'm starting to get a little bit more control with holding my pencil this way, which I didn't even notice until today. And I thought, I can actually start moving the pencil where I want. And that's a big step. That's a big step. So you've probably also noticed by now that there is no actual live sound from this recording that I'm recording. I'm recording a voiceover afterwards. And that's not because of any error on my part this time with the recording setup. It's because I sat down, and because I haven't done these for a little while, I didn't know what to say, and I couldn't collect my thoughts together. And what was coming out of my mouth was absolute garbage. It was just me rambling, stuttering, and I just felt really bad about it. And at some point during recording this, I realized that my live commentary was so crap that I just ended up just shutting up and drawing, and that was probably the best thing that I could have done for this. So it also allowed me to concentrate on just doing the sketching and just getting into that moment. I don't know if I'm going to do voiceovers for most of them in the future. It is an option. I don't have to do live commentary. It is hard sometimes to do that and keep my concentration with drawing, although I am getting better at that. And sometimes it's just better for me just to talk afterwards and just reflect on the session and what it's given me. So sometimes I might mix it up in the future, depending on how I feel. If recording is too much, but I still want to record, I can just do a silent recording and then just think about it afterwards. So we're nearly done with this figure actually. I'm just trying to make the chest more solid by putting a little bit more pencil marks in there, and then I'm going back to these shorts. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong with them and why they don't seem to come out too well for me. And then I forgot about the shadows, so I put the shadows in. I did have a little trouble with the shadows, and that was because of the values with the pencil is just a little bit limited in how I was applying them. What I mean by is I tried to make the shadow dark, but then the edge of the shorts on that side is in shadow, but yet you're supposed to see both of them. So I did have a little bit of problem with that. So I tried to erase a little bit of the line of the shorts, but I don't know if that helped. I do really like how I did that foot. I thought that was a really great way to solve that problem. So now I just want to make some of my lines a little bit darker, and you can see I've changed my grip to do that because the tip of the pencil is sharp at this point, and I can get it to come out a little bit more on the paper. But yeah, this is done. This is next. On to the next one. So I did decide to do the other fellow that was in the picture. I did look at the others and I thought, no, this one is giving me something a bit more of I could really exaggerate the foreshortening of the leg. But first, it is time for a drink of coffee, my fuel in the mornings just to keep me going. I've tried tea, but I'm just not, it doesn't do it for me. It's got to be coffee. All right, down to business. We got to fit this last person in. And I have quite a bit of trouble just getting this on the page. And I said that at the beginning that I do have trouble placing my figures on the page to make sure that they all fit together, because I'm not really considering whoops. I'm not really considering any type of composition. I'm just winging it, like, with most things that I do. So I have to erase and redraw and erase a couple of times, and that's fine, because when I do that, at least I know where I don't want it to be, if that makes sense. I don't want it to be there, so I'm just going to move it around and just play with it a little bit. So I think this last pose took me a little bit longer than the other ones. I'll get there in the end, and it's not complete. I will admit that, but it's okay. It's okay. I had to really simplify some of these forms, and it was actually really hard for me to make that leg bigger, just to make it really exaggerated with the foreshortening, and erasing and retrying was just part of that story this morning. So I was okay with it. I wasn't upset at the time either. I was quite okay with it at the time. I just accepted it for what it was. And instead of feeling pressure to get it right, it was more of an exploration. And if I can tap into that exploration feeling, it's not a problem for me. It's not a problem for me to make any mistakes, because it's not a mistake. It's just an exploration that didn't work out, and it was time to explore somewhere else. And that kind of attitude really makes my sketching a lot easier for me than what it used to be. I do the shorts again, these baggy shorts, because they don't really seem to have, I mean, they've got their own form, but it's just so ambiguous to me. I just can't get it. I can't wrap my little head around it. They're just, and because these people are in movement, these shorts are in movement as well. So I really, really liked the curve of the back, and I wanted to get that in. When I was doing this, when I was putting this arm in, I didn't get this right at all. And at first, it just looks like a 5-year-old's drawing of an arm. It doesn't have any sort of structure to it. But I left that because that's something that I can come back to later. It's just, like I keep saying actually, it's just more or less reserving a space, and I can come back to that later to fix it up. So I'm just trying to see how this back is going to work and how it all works together in with that leg. I'm not too concerned about the leg that's behind. I want to really get the strength of that leg that's in front. So I have to play around with it a little bit and just keep exploring with my lines. And you can tell that I'm a little bit more serious with this one, because you might have noticed, I didn't notice at the time, but my pencil grip changed so that I was sitting on top of the pencil instead of my more relaxed, I don't know, what do you call it? Underhand grip? Overhand? Underhand? I don't know what you call it. But yeah, and I realised at this time, I realised that the leg just wasn't going to fit on the paper, so I just let that leg go and just concentrated on the one that I actually wanted to work with. And I'm looking at the muscles, and I'm just seeing how each muscle has its own form and contributes to the overall perception of this leg. I'm also still not quite happy with the strength of it. I want it bigger. I just want it bigger, stronger, and just really, really stand out. So it does take me a couple of goes to get that in. I also had a little bit of trouble trying to place the knees. And when I say I had a little bit of trouble, it just means that I had to have a few goes at it. I wasn't upset, like I said. I'm not upset at all when I do any of these drawings and I get anything wrong. And the foot that I made is just a shape. It is just a simple shape. So I'm looking at my reference, then I'm looking at my drawing. And sometimes I look at it on the camera because it gives me a third perspective of the drawing to look at, to see what I'm doing wrong, and you know, I can see that it doesn't have the strength that I want to do. So I raise it again, and let's go for it another time. Who cares? You know, who cares if I draw this leg 50,000 times? Although I might care at that amount, but thankfully we don't need to do it that many times. Oh gosh, could you imagine drawing the same thing 50,000 times? Oh, God. But anyway, I, yeah, I have to erase this back leg because I realize that it's in the wrong position and I don't really want to concentrate on it too much. So it's just going to be there as a you know, accessory to the rest of the drawing. Okay, so some of my lines have been a little bit straight, so I'm at the point where I want to make them a little bit more curved and dynamic, and not so just, you know, straight legs, like straight rectangles. So this is the point in the sketch where I'm overall happy with the placement that it has on the page, and I'm just working out a few things that I want to work on. Basically, it's just where my attention takes me, what I want to work on, and that's what I do because I'm allowed that freedom here. So what I decided to do was to work a little bit on the muscles of that leg, because what my thinking was that if I put a little bit more muscle in there, that it will look a little bit stronger, and I think it does. I think it does at the end. And it also helps me take my mind off things because I'm starting to concentrate on an actual part of the drawing. So these are good moments for me to just zone out and just really sink myself into this part, which in this case is this leg. Now I do get to this part of the calf muscle and I realize that I don't quite want to work on this foot yet. I'm not quite there yet. Mentally, I'm not there yet. So I move back up to the knee and then I work a little bit on the top of the thigh because I'm letting the rest of that leg sort of mull around in the back of my head a little bit. But it doesn't take too long for me to just have a go at it because that's what this is about. And I've got my more relaxed grip on. So I've just relaxed myself a little bit and I'm just taking it one little mark at a time. It doesn't have to be accurate, as we know. And now I'm just moving around the drawing just as I see fit, just the things that I want to work on. And you can see that that leg is really more fleshed out now than the rest of the figure. So I just wanted to shade in. I had to turn this around just to shade in a little bit more of the shorts there. And these shorts were really bunched up at the back. It was like I guess it was just floating. It was just in midair, mid-action. And that's what I love about some of these action poses because things are just suspended in air. Here I'm realizing I need to put the back of the shorts in so it doesn't look like he's, I don't know, wearing some kind of nappy. We need the other leg. We need the short part of the other leg, the shorts part, just to make it just a little bit more complete. And then I'll move on to the waist, and I'm realizing that this is I'm actually really loving the shape of the figure in this part as well. That curve of the back is just something that I was really drawn to. But in order to do that, I also had to fix up this arm a little bit because I do realize this arm was pretty off. Now the shoulder wasn't the right shape, so I spent a little bit of time trying to fix that up because, like I said, at this stage I'm really in the moment. I've forgotten life around me and I'm really drawn into this, and it's really fascinating for me at the time. I'm figuring things out, I'm problem solving, I'm thinking, what if I do this way? What will it look like if I do it that way? And I'm just really in the moment, in the flow, I guess you would call it. And even just briefly, the more times that you can get into that stage, the easier it will be to do in the future. You know, hopefully one day I'll be able to do that when I want it. But having these little moments during the morning sketches really does help overall with all my other activities as well. Now here's a fun little part, the fingers. I actually had a bit of fun with that. I felt that was a little bit cheeky, just putting little sausage fingers in the end, but that was all it needed. It was all that needed, and that was kind of fun, I felt, and it didn't take away from the drawing at all. All right, now we are back to the back. I do erase a little bit because I want to explore more of a curve. But then I don't want to make him a hunchback. So I'm trying to be careful. I'm trying to be careful because where I thought I was going to put the line initially, I hesitated because I thought if I do that, it's just going to look like he's got a hunchback. So I think that works, and it's time just to move on with the rest of the figure. I do think this one took a lot longer than the others. I did do a lot more erasing on this figure than the others. So I try and find the elbow, and that way I'm hoping that it will give me a better idea of how to draw the rest of the arm, because I can work up from the elbow and then I can work down from the elbow. Because this man has a very muscular arm, and I want to include some of the, indicate some of that in his sketch. And I thought I did that pretty well. Now, I don't remember all the muscles of the arms, but I'm just using my observation skills at this point. And I don't know what this little string is that they have around their arms, because I don't follow the fighting world, so I don't know what that's for. But I did notice a lot of these people did have strings around their upper arm. So now I'm just trying to get the shape of that shoulder, because I thought that was quite important. That it gives it, there's a whole line of power that's moving down the side of the body on that side. That's what I'm giving the most detail to. Now, I did realize with this head that I could get into a lot of trouble if I tried to draw a tiny itty bitty face on there. So I did think I might do a face plate, but once I put the side of the eye socket area in, I thought that I might get into too much trouble, so I left it. I put the little bit of the chest from the other side in, and then I just work on putting that arm in, and it's nearly done. You can see the contour lines, they're quite fun to do, and they do give me a direction to work with, and then I can put my little sausage fingers on the top. I nearly went back to the face. I nearly went back to putting the face plate on, but then I realized I really can't give that face any more than what it's already got there. So I just try and strengthen up some of my lines and strengthen up some of the areas that I think would contribute to this sketch. And definitely the muscles on that leg. Although my hatching marks could use a little bit of work. Okay, so I did decide to go back to this calf muscle of the leg and just try and work on that a little bit, because I felt like it was missing I felt like it was missing something. It was missing, I guess, the level of detail that the upper thigh has. And I thought that it would be good if I could just add just a little bit more and just give this a little bit more shape and have it be a little bit more complete, just so that that whole leg is of the same level of completeness, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. And then I got to the foot and I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do here? So this is what I did. It wasn't much. It wasn't much. But you know what? It was enough. It definitely was enough. I put in a couple of little sausage toes to go with the sausage fingers. And yeah, I think it's done. I think we're done for the day. It was such a good feeling to get back into the morning sketch, because I haven't done them for a while. And I thought, yeah, to think that I was going to put this on a break, and I need them in my life, and I will keep doing them. They just won't be on the same day of the week. So this is what we've got. And I think overall I managed to fit them on the page fairly decently. And I think this is a good page in my little sketchbook. So now all that's left is to write the date, and I do try to remember to do that. Sometimes I forget, but you know, whatever. But anyway, that's it. So thank you for joining me today. I hope those watching are making time to bring that fun and exploration back into your own drawings, and using time for yourself with no strings attached, just no strings. Now, let me know how your sketching is going in the comments, or just leave a like, if just to let me know you made it to the end. As I say, consider subscribing for more content like this if you want to, and go have a look at some of my other videos. I have a pretty good range of videos on my channel now. So anyway, that's it. Keep drawing, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.